chapter 12. John chapter 12, and we're going to also read verses 1 through 11. The lectionary just has verses 1 through 8, but I'd like to read 1 through 11. And by the way, I do apologize for the joyfully is worthy. I've never seen it as Christmas words before, so you have Beethoven and myself. I apologize. I just looked up joyfully is worthy. But there's nothing wrong with singing about Christmas. And I couldn't play in June. It was actually my fault. You need to protect me from myself. Listen to the word of God that comes to us in the 12th chapter of John's Gospel. 6 days before Passover, Jesus came to Bethany, the home of Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. And there they gave a dinner for him. Martha served, and Lazarus was one of those at table with him. Mary took a pound of costly perfume, made of pure nard, anointed Jesus' feet, and wiped them with her hair. The house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. But Judas Iscariot, one of his disciples, the one who was about to betray him, said, "Why was this perfume not sold for 300 denarii and the money given to the poor?" He said this not because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief. He kept the common purse and used it to steal what was put into it. Jesus said, "Leave her alone. She bought it so that she might keep it for the day of my burial. You always will have the poor with you, but you do not always have me." And when the great crowd of Jews learned that he was there, they came not only because of Jesus, but also to see Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. So the chief priests planned to put Lazarus to death as well, since it was on the account of him that many of the Jews were deserting and were believing in Jesus. God bless the hearing of the reading of the Holy Word. Lord, open our eyes and our hearts, and through your word proclaimed, we may encounter you, the living word. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. This woman's work. You may or may not remember that film. I don't really remember much of the film. I think it was in the 80s. It's John Hughes' film, starring Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth Montgomery. So this sermon only has 1 degree of separation from Kevin Bacon, because we have played that song on an occasion. At any rate, the song was actually written by Kate Bush, who was a British artist, and she wrote it specifically for the scene in the movie. And in the movie, they're a young couple, they're more a kid than adults. They get married, she ends up pregnant, and when she goes into labor, both the mother and the baby are in jeopardy. So this song is played while Kevin Bacon is waiting to find out whether his wife and his child will survive. And it's a beautiful song. Matter of fact, I put on church's Facebook page a link to a version of the song by Maxwell, the great R&B singer. And I just want to read the first couple lines of the song. I encourage you to look it up and watch it on YouTube. You can watch Maxwell's version, watch Kate Bush's version, watch both of them. But here are the first lines of this song. Pray God you can cope. I'll stand outside this woman's work, this woman's world. Oh, it's hard for a man. Now his part is over. Now starts the craft of the Father. The Father is capitalized. So meaning this whole struggle of life and death is in the hands, if you would, of both the woman and God. And one of the things that I think is full of the song, if you read all the other verses, he begins thinking about the things he wished he could have done, things I wish I could have said. Give me back his time, because he's not sure his wife is going to live. So he's full of all this regret. Regret is something that we can almost only feel after the fact, right? You regret something when it's too late. I think maybe the worst song ever written, whether that's a lot of songs, but in terms of one of the worst lines ever written in a song is in the song My Way. I think Paul Anka wrote it, but everybody sings it. Frank Sinatra, Elvis, everybody sings it. And there's a line, regrets, I've had a few, but none to mention. Okay. Elvis, Frank Sinatra, and everyone else who's ever listened or played that song, they have more than a few regrets. Okay, let's just be honest about it. Okay, and one of the reasons they should have regrets is because they did it their way. Right? If they hadn't done it their way, maybe everybody's life around them would have been better. Right? Okay. But there's something about this story. Okay? Something about this story, this woman's work, the work that Mary does. All the men around the scene don't get it. And I would argue, not only the men in the history of Christianity have had trouble getting it, but many of us as Christians have trouble getting what was really going on with Mary, and maybe what we are really supposed to be doing as well. As most of you know, I do a podcast with Scott Jones, who many of you know. He's spoken here in the past. And we do a variety of things. We do cultural things, we do theological things, we do political things. And we were using the whole controversy around Joe Biden right now to talk about, what do you do with changing morals, all right? And the whole issue of touching in space and things like that. And we do a Facebook Live. Now you can listen to the podcast, but we do a Facebook Live. And actually, a woman who's a friend of mine affectionately texted while we were live saying, "You're mansplaining, Bill." Okay, now I realize I've heard mansplaining a lot, but I never actually looked at the definition of mansplaining. Alright, so I looked it up, and I immediately regretted that I did the research, alright? Because I went to the BBC, and you can't trust the BBC. Who can you trust, right? And they actually had a whole chart to figure out whether or not you're mansplaining. Okay, well, I went through the whole chart, and by the way, I think I'm not guilty, by the way. So I texted that person back, I'm not guilty. But one of the things the last part of whether or not you're mansplaining or not is, how does bias affect your interpretation of what goes on? And the truth of the matter is, our biases affect everything that we do. And there's probably no greater example of bias in the New Testament, at least from a scholarship perspective, than this story about Mary's anointing of Jesus. Okay. It appears in 4 Gospels. At least there's a story about a woman anointing Jesus with expensive perfume in all 4 of the Gospels. Okay. But there's 3 different versions of the story. Okay. In Luke's version, it takes place at Simon the Pharisee's house in the Galilee, and the woman is unnamed. In Mark and Matthew, and Mark is probably Mark is the first gospel of Matthew and Luke. It happens the same time it happens in John's gospel. It happens during Holy Week. Okay? It happens in Bethany, but the woman is unnamed, and it's at the house of Simon the leper. In John's gospel, our text today, it happens in Bethany. It's at Lazarus' house. And if you don't remember, in John chapter 11, the chapter immediately before this, that's the chapter where Jesus raises Lazarus from the dead. And in this particular version of it, the woman is named as Mary of Bethany. And we know her from both Luke's gospel and John's gospel. Mary is the sister of Martha and the sister of Lazarus. Now, you can take this another step further. Matter of fact, if any of you spent or wasted 2 hours of your life watching the Da Vinci Code, this story has a kind of impact on that as well. Okay? All right. It might be fun. The Da Vinci Code might be fun fiction, but that's all it is. The author of the Da Vinci Code doesn't even get the founding of Paris right. So the history of that book is all messed up. All right. Even the Tom Hanks is likable, it didn't happen that way. Okay? It's not credible. But what's interesting, that the tradition of the church merges all these people into one person, Mary of Magdalene. Okay? And on one level, we can understand. There are 6 different Marys in the gospel. It's easy to get your Marys mixed up. Okay? There's Mary Magdalene. There's Mary, the mother of Jesus. There's Mary of Bethany. There's Mary, the mother of James and John, and a couple other Marys to throw in there. Okay? And what makes it even harder, 2 or 3 of them are witnesses to the resurrection. So we understand maybe why they got their Marys wrong, or got their Marys confused, right? But I think there's something a little bit more problematic going on here. And I think part of it is this idea of people being uncomfortable with the anointing of Jesus' feet. Not only are the disciples uncomfortable with it, extremely uncomfortable with it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I think it's interesting that the tradition goes ahead and assumes that the woman who did this must have been not quite right? Mary Magdalene, who often wrongly is described as a former prostitute. There's nothing in the Bible that says that Mary Magdalene, just says she had 7 demons, right? Of course, now we know the woman in chapter 7 of Luke, it says it was a woman of bad reputation. So the assumption is that was her profession. But it's interesting that the history of Christianity, particularly the Western Church, merge all these Marys. Our Greek Orthodox brothers and sisters don't. Mary of Bethany, they keep her separate. And I think there's something even in the way the tradition has talked about this story, maybe even in the way the gospel tradition is formulated, that goes to the root of what was even wrong the night that it happened. We're uncomfortable with what Mary is doing. We're uncomfortable with this open, extravagant display of sorrow and love and devotion at the feet of Jesus. Matter of fact, I like gospel. The whole house stinks from this thing, right? You can smell it everywhere. And I think we're uncomfortable with it. Now, it's interesting. John's gospel, immediately just makes Judas the devil. Okay? The fact that Judas Iscariot betrayed Jesus was a problem in the early church. You can see it in Mark's gospel, in Luke Acts. It's hard for people to come to grips with Jesus picked somebody who ended up being a traitor. Right? And so they struggle with, why did Judas do this? Mark has a very different, I think, angle on why Judas betrayed Jesus. But John just decides he's a thief, he's the devil. Okay? So he writes them all. But in Mark's gospel, Mark's version of the story, in Mark 14, it's not just Judas who objects to the woman doing this to Jesus. It's all the disciples, or at least a bunch of them. And they're being good stewards, right? All right? They have a finance committee meeting after church today. Okay? Can you imagine the finance committee would have thought about this incredibly expensive waste of resources? How many things can be fixed in the church if we just sell that for food, right? And the disciples even take it a different step higher. They go, look at all the poor we could have helped with this. And so they are, in Mark's gospel, they are criticizing the woman. But who are they really criticizing? Jesus. Matter of fact, in Luke's version of it, they directly accuse Jesus of, how come he doesn't know what kind of woman this is? He's letting touch him. The tragedy of this whole evening is not only the fact that, they are critical of this woman and indirectly critical of Jesus, but she's the only one who's been hearing what Jesus says. All the way to Jerusalem, Jesus has been saying, I'm going to go to Jerusalem and die. But the men are too busy with the business of the movement. Even the critique about the poor. Listen, Jesus, this is about the movement. We just wasted money that the movement could use. And of course, this passage has been misused for centuries for the church to ignore the poor, right? Jesus is not saying ignore the poor, but it's been used that way. I've heard it used that way. That's not what he's saying here. what Jesus was saying. We're told in Luke's gospel that Mary chooses the better thing, and I think what she chooses here is the better thing. She knows he's going to die. And she has no way to handle that in her head, and nothing she can do can prevent that. So she shows him while he's alive how much she loves him. You know, one of the things we have to ask ourselves is Jesus or the faith or church or Christianity a personal experience? Is it an idea? Is it a dogma? Is it a club to belong to? Is it something that we do every week? Or is it a relationship with the living God through, by, and because of Jesus? The disciples who have sacrificed so much do not understand that this wasn't about the Messianic movement. This was about a relationship with God in the person of Jesus. You know, Jesus' death was a murder mystery. And you were a detective. You went back to interview people. How did Jesus get killed? How did it all go wrong? This night would be a key night. Because in Mark's gospel, it's after this incident that Judas goes out and plots with those that are thrown. This is a disillusioning moment for people. Because Jesus, one more time, is not acting the way he's supposed to. And disillusionment with Jesus, whether it be by the crowd who expected something on Palm Sunday but didn't get it, or whether it be by his own disciples, one who denied him, one who betrayed him, and the rest who ran away. Jesus was not being who they thought he should be. And I would argue, if Jesus came back today, one thing evangelicals and progressives could come together around. It might be a moment of remarkable church unity if Jesus came back. And what we'd all agree upon is this guy needs to be stopped. Because he's messing with the way we think. How dare him challenge our politics? How dare him challenge our programs? Jesus one time said, "Blessed is he who does not take offense at me." The implication is Jesus is offensive. He confronts us. How are we supposed to love Jesus? You know, it's a good question. And I don't think there's a right way. I mean, Mary just did what her heart told her to do. There wasn't any particular sacramental nature of it. It wasn't anything that she was told to do. She didn't know what else to do. But her heart was full of love and sorrow, and so she gave him the most precious thing she had, which was her own heart. And she gave an external symbol of that. I don't know if I told the story here or not, but the first time I went to a Presbyterian church, I didn't grow up in more formal churches. I grew up in more evangelical, revivalist churches. And the first time I went to a Presbyterian church, this was the first church in the community. Okay? And so this is where the doctors and lawyers went. And I was friends with the minister and was in the process of becoming a Presbyterian. But sat in a very, kind of very formal place. You know, we were afraid we might be sitting in the wrong pew, somebody's pew. So you're very kind of nervous anyway. It's very quiet. Beautiful church, built in the late 1700s. And on one side of the wall was an original Tiffany glass of Jesus, the Good Shepherd. My oldest son at that point was around 2 or 3, somewhere in that age group. And so, we're nervous. We're sitting there. Finally get settled. It's very quiet. Everybody's very formal. And all of a sudden, my little boy starts going, "Jesus! Daddy, it's Jesus! It's Jesus is here!" And finally, "Daddy, it's Jesus, it's Jesus. I go, Ben, be quiet, this is church. Right? Jesus told her to stop. That's expensive. We've got important things to do. It'd be really tragic to make our pilgrimage to Jerusalem over the next week and miss Jesus. Or worse, in the name of him, squelch him. In the name of the Father, Son,